Federal agencies coming together today to talk how to keep guns here in the U.S. out of the hands of violent drug cartels down in Mexico. They were there to talk about their crackdown on illegal guns being smuggled across the border. In Laredo, U.S. Customs and Border Protection joining forces with the Department of Homeland Security and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to showcase recent weapons that were recovered. The seized firearms on display were part of an effort to send a strong message about the serious consequences of gun smuggling, especially as major Mexican cartels are now classified as foreign terrorist organizations.
Whether it's DPS, state, locals, we all work together. But on these issues, when it comes to cartel violence, we see it more than other people do. If you're in South Texas, if you're in San Antonio, the violence that occurs in Mexico, cartel related, it makes it to San Antonio.
Officials also say there are criminal penalties tied to straw purchases. That's when someone illegally buys a firearm for another person. Now, the efforts come shortly after the bodies of 5 musicians from the band that is Grupo Fugitivo were found in Reynosa, a city along the Texas border. Tamaulipas state prosecutors say the men were kidnapped while traveling to a venue there that they were hired to play. Prosecutors say 9 suspects believed to be a part of the cartel were arrested. Investigators still trying to figure out a motive for those Several murders. Federal agencies coming together today in South Texas to send a clear message about guns from the U.S. and how far too many times they're ending up in the hands of the cartels in Mexico. They talked about a recent crackdown on weapons heading across the border from the U.S. during a press event today out in Laredo. News 4 San Antonio's Taylor Wardenby in Laredo for that event and has details now on the stepped-up enforcement.
Right now in San Antonio and all of Texas, U.S. officials are ramping up their efforts on a dangerous pipeline. Guns purchased in the U.S. and then smuggled south into Mexico, oftentimes ending in the hands of dangerous cartels.
These aren't props. These are actual guns recently seized by authorities. Guns that were being smuggled across the border into Mexico, but were stopped before they ended up in the hands of the cartel. U.S. Customs, along with other law enforcement agencies, put the weapons on public display next to the outbound inspection lanes headed into Mexico to highlight their recent work.
Through this strong collaboration between CBP, ATF, and HSI, we are able to work together as a force multiplier and effectively disrupt and dismantle transnational criminal organizations involved in weapons trafficking and make America safer in the process.
Donald Cusser with Customs and Border Protection says recent executive orders have given federal agencies more authority to act.
Every firearm that crosses that border into the hands of a criminal organization represents a potential act of terror and a threat to the safety of people on both sides of the border.
Homeland Security officials say this is a top priority as gun violence in Mexico has increased in recent years. It's violence that often makes its way up I-35 into our area.
If you're in San Antonio, the violence that occurs in Mexico, cartel related, it makes it to San Antonio.
New penalties are also helping, which have increased penalties for gun trafficking, carrying up to 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine.
Yes, it's a serious crime, and we understand the impact that a lot of these firearms have in Mexico.
Authorities right now say the stakes are higher than they've ever been. That's because cartels are now classified as foreign terrorist organizations, which means so are the consequences for anyone that helps them. In Laredo, I'm Taylor Wardenby reporting.
Surviving all the heat. I mean, it's good Laredo weather here. At least we have a breeze, so that's one saving grace. Just wanted to welcome you here to Juarez-Lincoln Bridge. This is the outbound inspection area. This is where we conduct outbound inspections, where we seize a lot of the weapons that you see in front of you. So anyway, I just wanted to go over some ground rules. We're gonna basically be talking about outbound weapons. We're not going to be talking about any other topic. So we're going to have some words from the DFO of Customs and Border Protection, from the HSI SAC, and from the ATF SAC. Afterwards, we will have one-on-one interviews available, and we do have people that can do the interviews in Spanish. Para los reporteros que hablan en español, pues vamos a tener una plática. Empezamos con el director de la oficina regional, luego el SAC de HSI, luego el SAC de ATF, y después de todo eso vamos a tener las entrevistas uno por uno al lado, y hay oficiales disponibles que pueden hablar en español. ¿Está bien? Okay. Pues, so we're going to start with our DFO, Donald Cusser. He's the DFO of the Laredo Field Office, and here he is.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Okay, so good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. My name is Donald Cusser. I am the director of the Laredo Field Office for CBP's Office of Field Operations. The Laredo Field Office is the largest office in CBP, covering operations at 8 ports of entry that extend from Brownsville to Del Rio, Texas. Okay, is that better? Our mission in CBP's Office of Field Operations is critical and multifaceted. We are responsible for inspecting all people, conveyances, and cargo entering and leaving the United States through our nation's land borders, airports, and seaports. While most people are familiar with our role in processing people and vehicles entering the United States, I want to take a moment today to discuss another important aspect of what CBP does, which is conducting outbound inspections. These inspections are a vital part of our national security mission. When we inspect vehicles and individuals leaving the United States, we are looking for illicit exports, specifically firearms, ammunition, and undeclared currency that are destined for criminal and terrorist organizations. A small sample of those interdictions are on display here today. While uncovering these violations, we have also successfully stopped child abductions, interdicted criminals fleeing prosecution, interdicted illegal contraband, such as precursor chemicals used to manufacture drugs such as fentanyl, and uncovered a myriad of other violations to include stolen vehicles and detecting trade and immigration violations. Our mission has never been more important. As you know, transnational criminal organizations, many of which now fall under the designation of foreign terrorist organizations under the President's executive orders, rely on a steady stream of firearms to maintain control, sow violence, and destabilize regions across Mexico and beyond. The weapons smuggled out of the United States are often used to commit acts of violence not only against rival cartels and law enforcement, but also against civilians, elected officials, and journalists. Weapons trafficking is not just a public safety issue, it is a national security threat. Every firearm that crosses that border into the hands of a criminal organization represents a potential act of terror and a threat to the safety of people on both sides of the border. CBP is fully committed to interrupting this deadly pipeline through advanced targeting, utilizing non-intrusive inspection technology, canine teams, and boots-on-the-ground vigilance. We are intercepting dangerous weapons before they leave our country, and we are not doing this work alone. Our partnership with ATF and Homeland Security investigations is integral to our success. Together, we investigate not only the smuggling events at the ports of entry, but work beyond the border in the interior of the United States to identify suppliers, smuggling networks, and trafficking routes. Through this strong collaboration between CBP, ATF, and HSI, we are able to work together as a force multiplier and effectively disrupt and dismantle transnational criminal organizations involved in weapons trafficking and make America safer in the process. This joint effort extends into intelligence sharing, coordinated enforcement operations, and trend analysis so that we are not just reacting to what's happening, we're staying ahead of it. We are committed to identifying and eliminating the infrastructure that enables these organizations to operate within the United States. Recent executive orders have given us more tools and authority to dismantle the financial and operational networks of these transnational criminal organizations. It makes clear the United States will not tolerate the presence or influence of these groups within our borders. Not only that, the designation of certain cartels, many of them Mexico-based, as foreign terrorist organizations comes with severe legal consequences, including terrorism-enhanced charges. We will continue to work with our federal partners, with state and local enforcement, state and local law enforcement, and with our counterparts in Mexico to combat this threat head-on. It's a shared mission because safety, stability, and justice knows no borders. Let me take a moment to thank the dedicated officers, agents, and analysts from all our agencies. The work they do day in and day out saves lives and protects communities. We are united in purpose, vigilant in execution, and unwavering in our commitment to national security. Thank you.
All right, and now I'll bring you to the podium Craig Larrabee. He is the SAC for Homeland Security Investigations based out of the SAC office in San Antonio.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here on this important topic. My name is Craig Larrabee. I'm the Special Agent in charge with ICE Homeland Security Investigations based in San Antonio, Texas. My operational responsibilities include almost all of South Texas, including the border starting in Del Rio all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley. HSI's mission is vast, but one of the pieces of our mission is the illegal movement of people and goods across the border. So we investigate any of the organizations involved in illegal movement of people and goods. People coming in, narcotics coming in, firearms and money going out. So this is one of our major pieces of investigative priorities. The gun violence in Mexico, as everybody here knows, has steadily increased in recent years. Many of those incidents involve weapons that are smuggled from the United States. These come through various mechanisms, which my ATF counterpart will speak to, through straw purchases, and ultimately the illegal smuggling of those firearms across the border. That's where HSI partners with ATF and CBP to increase our interdictive efforts to stop the firearms. We want to identify the complete network and arrest as many people involved in these networks of smuggling, but most importantly, we need to interdict the weapons before they go out of the country. And that's where CBP has stepped up their efforts and does a tremendous job on outbound operations. In 2020, we started an operation called Without a Trace. It's a joint effort from DHS and ATF to work collaboratively to share intelligence and to go after the organizations involved in the illegal smuggling of weapons. This has increased since the change in administrations, where we have dedicated additional resources to going after the cartels. Now that they're designated as foreign terrorist organizations, we can increase our efforts and increase the penalties for those involved. Because of this whole of government operation, we've seen an increase in our common mission picture and breakdown of silos in which information is shared readily and quickly. South Texas has always been a place where that happens regularly, but now it's happening across all of U.S. government. Although we represent different agencies, we share the same commitment to fighting the epidemic of gun violence that has shattered communities across our country and with our partners south. With that, thank you.
And lastly, we'll bring to the podium Mike Waddell. He's the SAC for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives out of the Houston Field Division.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Mike Waddell, and as stated, I'm the Special Agent Charged for the ATF for the Houston Field Division. And what you see here before today are the firearms that are on this table. It is the collective investigations or the resources of our agencies coming together with Customs and Border Protection, Homeland Security Investigation, our state and many local partners that we have, that the success that we share in these seizures. And so ATF's main mission is the reduction of violent crime. And so our way of doing that is to stop the flow of firearms that leave the United States and that are obtained for illegal means to be sent, in this case, we're referencing Mexico, where they are there to help, further these drug trafficking organizations, these terrorist organizations, as they continue that ongoing violence, as they look to expand their territory, and in turn to create those networks to send, not only the trafficking of people, but of illegal narcotics back into the United States. And so it's an ugly cycle of violence. And so oftentimes ATF, in addition to working with our partners, we focus at, not only the traffickers, but also the purchasers of the firearms. We have programs that don't lie for the other guy, which are individuals that they lie on the government forms when they go to a gun store and state that they are the owner for the firearms, and when they actually intend to buy that firearm on behalf of someone else, which is then to be trafficked outside of the country. And so this is a crime that, working with our federal partners, with HSI and CBP, that we're going to continue to investigate and prosecute. And so the thing that I would like to highlight is that the worst case story that we ever hear, the ones that end in tragedy, are the firearms that are recovered in Mexico. But here, these firearms, each one being individually an individual case, are success stories. These are the result of the collective partnerships. And so for that, ATF, we pledge our continued support to work with our CBP and HSI partners. And I thank you for your time today.
All right, so that concludes the formal remarks section of the event. We'll have just one-on-one interviews with the different officials from the different agencies. We also have officials that can do interviews in Spanish, so we can just go off to the side and do those one-on-one interviews. And we'll have public affairs officers from CBP, HSI, and ATF that will be able to guide you accordingly. Thanks.
Hi, Taylor. How are you? Hey, I'm Mike. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. In English?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Just want to know how the ATF is holding federal licensed firearms accountable.
Okay, so we actually look to partner with our FFLs, our licensees, and so they're outstanding. And so we have two different functions at the ATF. We have the criminal side and we have the regulatory side. And so what really helps us is the regulatory side, which works with our FFL partners. And so a lot of times they'll do trainings with the FFLs to help them spot signs of what might be what we call a straw purchase, which is when someone will go in, lie on the form, and to state, hey, this firearm is for me, when the actual intended purpose is they're buying it for someone that might be prohibited or wants to conceal their identity from the purchase of that firearm because it's going to be used in a crime or it's going to be trafficked somewhere outside the United States. And so our regulatory side is an important function for that, to help us work with our FFL partners and to kind of share, I would say, trends with them to look out for, and to work closer, with us, with the ATF, with the criminal side, to, help us, maybe identify those people that are, part of those trends. So without kind of going into investigative techniques, I don't really want to do that here, but it just, we just work, kind of educational purposes, and so.
So my next question is, given that many of these weapons are bought legally and then trafficked, what reform are you pushing for federally?
So we actually have some very good laws that have recently been passed. We had the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which actually created a firearms trafficking statute. And so, that's an outstanding charge. And so really what that is we're working with our United States Attorney's Office to make sure that, once we identify maybe an individual or a group that particular charge would apply to under that firearms trafficking statute, to make sure that it's investigated thoroughly and then presented for prosecution. Yes, it is. So, since our drug cartels have been identified as foreign terrorist organizations, it opens some additional resources to ATF, as far as possible charges. So far, we've just continued to utilize the new trafficking statutes that have come into effect, and which one of them being that it's 18 USC 933, which is the firearms trafficking, carries up to 15 years in federal prison and or a $250,000 fine. Yes, it has. And so from the time that was passed, it's increased dramatically. And I think that shows the seriousness of the United States and how we're treating firearms trafficking and how it affects our partners. In this case here for Mexico, that it's, we treat it very serious. It's a serious crime. And we understand the impact that a lot of these firearms have in Mexico. And in turn, that furthers those organizations to control control corridors there that then allow for narcotics and human trafficking to come back into the United States. And so we understand it has to be a partnership. It's a vicious cycle. And so, we'll continue to work with our state, federal, local partners here as well as our Mexico partners.
Any other message you want to get out to public today?
Yeah, absolutely. And so don't lie for the other guy. We know that sometimes people kind of fall prey to maybe financial hardships, and so a lot of time that becomes very enticing, through money to lie on a form, not realizing the seriousness of what that action is going to carry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am,
It's a
so much.
pleasure.
Take care.
Yes.
Again, it's not just your cartel versus cartel crime. Obviously, it's police, judges, the press, and just the general public, just owning areas and terrorizing areas of Mexico. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi,
I'm
how are you?
Taylor. Nice
Hi,
to meet
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'll get that mic real quick.
Yep, surely.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nope. Okay. Okay. Yep.
You're in San Antonio.
Yes, I am. Yes. Yeah.
Good. What does the follow-up process look like after weapons interdiction? How are traffickers, straw purchasers, cartels contacted, and how are they held accountable?
After the seizures occurred, it's just like a seizure of narcotics or any other thing. We're going to do everything we can. You're going to find, you do the interviews, you hit subpoenas, you do search warrants, you go to the next stage of whoever purchased that weapon. We're going to find those people that if they illegally transferred that weapon. So then you're going to use phone analysis. We can do Title III investigations. It's just like any narcotics thing. You're going to take every piece of information and follow up on it as much as possible. Because what you want to do, you don't want to find just the guy who tried to smuggle it across. You want to find the stash house in Laredo where they held the weapons for a period of time. You want to find out who transported them to the border. You want to find out who took them from Laredo to the stash house. Then you also want to find out from that who made the initial purchase. And ultimately, who purchased everything. Who was behind it on the scene. Who was in that cartel that was orchestrating the entire thing. So that's how we do it. And we do that through cooperation. You saw today, you have your cooperation with OFO, who's CBP, who's doing these interdictions. We're sharing intelligence with ATF and other agencies, whether it be DEA or FBI. We share all that intelligence so we can find the person who actually made the purchase.
Now, if
Yep.
you are able to tell me how many
Yep.
firearms have we caught so far, maybe this year or the past couple months that you've got here?
I don't have those specifics. CBP would have those specifics, but again, we're seeing still a steady flow. But I've never seen a group of law enforcement come together like it's done in the past since change in administration. We just all come together and we're sharing information. There's no this is my case, that case. It's very different aspects. So that's where I see that this is going to make a difference. And eventually, I'd like to see a lot less seizures because that means we're doing even a better job. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you finding any gaps in coordination between the agencies
I mean, compared to yesteryear, very little, because you're sitting at the table with everybody. South Texas has always been better than most of the country. Just we work together. Law enforcement works together, whether it's DPS, state, locals, we all work together. But on these issues, when it comes to cartel violence, we see it more than other people do. If you're in South Texas, if you're in San Antonio, the violence that occurs in Mexico, cartel related, it makes it to San Antonio. Some of the crime that you're seeing, the property crime, that's related to activities in Mexico. So we work together on all of those aspects. So I think there are less barriers here than any time in my career.
I just want to know if there was any criminal charges against Americans knowingly supplying weapons to these cartels.
Yes, well, there's a lot of different targets. I mean, they can be charged with just the general smuggling, just the fact that you provided so they know it's going to be smuggled. There's straw purchasing charges that the ATF can bring, and now we have material support charges. Now that the cartel is designated as a terrorist organization, now you're being held because you're supplying. There isn't more of a material support scenario than providing the weapons to the cartels.
And how many cases in South Texas do you have any numbers if you do led to actual prosecutions or convictions in the last year?
I can get those for you.
But
Yep.
it definitely has increased, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it just as it becomes a priority, you're going to see an increase.
Is there anything that you'd like to get out to the public as we're airing this today?
If you're airing this to people in San Antonio, it's only 2.5 hours. I know you drove down this morning, probably yourself. It's not that far. A lot of these weapons are being sourced in San Antonio. If you have a relative, friend, neighbor, or something, you think doing something that looks improper, that looks like they're taking weapons and providing it to people that shouldn't have it, then please let us know.
Contact police.
Contact us, yes.
Great. Thank you so much. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
No, at the moment. I try.
No se preocupe. Hace calor.
Eddie, what's your idea? Can I ask something? You gotta work out. You gotta work out.
Got that a lot.
That's not Brooke. Is that Brooke Taylor?
No, her name's Taylor Morton.
Okay, can I speak with, that's her, right?
Yeah.
So she comes from,
WEIKBB.
oh, okay, because I know that the folks from Fox National were supposed to send Bill Maluja and Brooke Taylor were supposed to talk to the producer about getting some stuff. Oh, those are my peeps. That's our San Antonio market. No, I talked to Yabi. She wasn't able to make it. Yeah, because she wanted something different, and I'm like, I can't really give you anything right now different. So, but whatever we can do for you, let us know. So our stack will be the second speaker. You're with Spanish, right? Cajun is it? Okay.
Close up. Okay, where's the?
I think it's on.
Test 1 2 1 2 1 2. No. Is it on? Test 1 2. Check.
Check 1 2. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As a courtesy, when you're going to take your pictures, please, you can take your pictures, but please do not touch some of the arms, as you know, we need to conserve the property, okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
¿Sabes qué? Aquí mira. Es porque va a leer algo. Espérate, pero si es este le va a estar pegando aquí, mira. Ok, a menos que lo deje así. Like this. Ya está, ok. ¿Cuánto falta? No todavía falta un rato.